Happy Wednesday, and welcome to our December virtual sip with Vicki. We are super excited to have you all here today. We've had a lot of conversations with folks in the last few weeks since our November virtual sip with Vicki. And the feeling that we're getting is that folks are a little rattled with things that are going on in the world, and they're a bit intimidated with 2022 coming on. Vicki's strategies have been utilized and perfected, and they're currently working today in this ever-changing climate, bringing success to many organizations. This stuff is not theory. These are tried and true strategies that produce results. So today we're going to talk about definite things that people can take away to give them a start right now in December and really drive Q1 in 2022 with confidence. Welcome, Vicki.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. Julie, thanks for the great introduction. We're glad that you're here. Getting ready for 2022. We're all rushing to try to get our goals done. Budgets are done, and we're ready to move forward into the new year. What people are asking very specifically are what are best practices about employee engagement? What are best practices about communication and work at home? What about how to implement new technologies, change management, training, nesting, quality, how the coaching programs, the recruiting? Everything has really changed for the work at home environment and the hybrid models. I really wanted to give people some actual things that they could utilize. And in order to do that, I had to sort of step back and really look at what was the landscape? What's the landscape look like right now? What are people really concerned about? And what strategies can I give specifically that they can take and really utilize and see actual improvements in the organization? When I step back, I started really thinking about everything that's happened in the last couple of years and really what our teams are dealing with. We're having major challenges inside our organizations. It's hard to recruit. People are trading out at higher than ever before. People want to write their own schedules. They want to work part-time. They want to sort of come and go. They want to be coached different. They want their lives to be different. So why is that? Why is that happening and why now? So I made a list and I've written it down and I'm going to walk through this. And when I started just putting some of these things down on paper, I realized very quickly that the reason that companies are struggling is perhaps they don't understand how magic or how massively changed the environment is that their employees are working in. And I don't just mean that they're work at home or hybrid. So first of all, we've been in lockdown, and our world has changed massively in the last 2 years. People have gotten sick. Some people have died. Some people have gotten better. But either way, it's turned our families upside down. Then we've had all the children coming home. So parents had to learn how to homeschool, even if they didn't want to. And now that the children are going back to school or in school, some parents are deciding that they don't want to send their children back to school, that they want to homeschool. So this is one of the reasons we're seeing massive amounts of women, especially, but men too, but women leaving the workforce to homeschool and take care of their children. So that's turned employers' worlds upside down as well as the employees' worlds. Now, the baby boomers and the Gen Xs, well, they're taking care of aging parents. And then we've got the highest suicide rate that we've had in decades. Las Vegas, during the lockdown, actually let their high school students back to school because the suicide rate was so high. And so we're seeing that. We're seeing drug and alcohol abuse at its all-time high. People are trying to cope, whether it's illegal drugs or prescription drugs. People are just trying to cope with the stress. People have lost their livelihoods, their businesses, their homes. All that affects how they feel about themselves and the world. Vaccinate, don't vaccinate, mandates, don't mandate. So it's causing sort of a rift in people and in families, pitting one against another. That has everything to do with how we feel as employees and leaders when we go to work every day. We've had riots, shootings, cities have been partially burned down. I mean, now the government's telling us it's going to be a long, cold, hard winter. So I guess we have that to look forward to. We've got higher gas prices. Grocery store. I mean, the prices in the groceries are going sky high. It's the inflation rate. People that are trying to move can't afford homes in certain areas because so many people are flocking to those areas, even with low interest rates. and the market looks unstable. Now we've got holidays. We've got, should you fly? Should you drive? If you're trying to leave the country, what are the rules going to be? Are they going to change before you get back? How do you get testing? Do you have the right testing? All of this is pressing in on our organizations, and we wonder why people are leaving in masses. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to do the same thing that we've always done in a brand new environment to most, work at home and remote, and hybrid. And so they're trying to change the way their companies work in a different kind of environment with employees that are stressed to the max. And when you think about it, people are just feeling uncertain. People are afraid. They don't know what's going to happen next year. And so now they come to work and we measure everything in our industry, right? Pretty much every time they breathe, they're being measured. So now, not only do they have all of this world and home, family, community, fear, uncertainty pushing in on them, well, they also have measurements, their CSATs, their AHT, their attendance, all of this. And we keep pushing on them till finally, guess what happens? They don't want to go to work. So they're late. Your utilization crashes. What's happened is that people they're leaving in droves and it's costing money. And so what we're doing is we're seeing the labor dollars move up and we're seeing expenses move up, which is eroding money off of our bottom line. So what do? We tell our supervisors to work even harder, to go on down there and make it happen. In reality, nothing is going to change unless we change the way we lead. So when I stepped back, and I made my list of everything that's going on, basically, I came to a really strong awareness of that we have to create environments in 2022 that are going to embrace our employees. Because think about it, how we feel affects our brain, and our brain, and even in a split second, affects our actions. Why do we know this? Look at all the videos that are going viral. Look at what's happening in airplanes, on trains, in shopping centers. It's people are just erupting because of all this uncertainty. And those folks are coming to work and trying to serve our customers that are trying to get their issues resolved or trying to make a purchase. So we have to create a new environment inside of 2022. And I'll tell you why this is important. It's because whatever we're trying to do with all the best practices for work at home and hybrid now, and with the change management that we're doing and the new technologies, they have to stick on that environment. And if that environment isn't prepared emotionally and mentally, then nothing's going to stick. People are just going to get frustrated, not show up, and work slower. You're going to need more people to do the same amount of work, and they're going to be leaving early. And that's terrible, obviously, if you're an internal brand. But if you're a BPO, it's even worse, because now every time someone doesn't show up, you've lost revenue. Every time someone doesn't show up or they attrit out, you've lost revenue. So the margins are becoming single digits in the BPO. And some BPOs are struggling even to break even. And so this is what we're seeing and what we're hearing when we're out talking with clients and talking with people inside the industry. And so how do we create that environment so things stick? How do we affect the emotions? And what's more important than everything, when we do that, we're giving them a reason to come to work every day. People want to feel some type of goodness, right? And it's hard to come to work when you've got all that external stress and uncertainty and fear and change in our country and our world. No one knows what's going to happen next year. So as leaders, we have to change the way we lead. So what I want to do right now is to give you 3 specific strategies that you can use, that you can implement right away. And the first one it's getting them to buy into your goals. So think about it. Everybody is all worried. So when they're sitting there doing customer interactions, they're worried about everything. Your job is to create that environment so they don't have to worry. It should be pleasant to come to work. And one of the best ways to do that is to get them to buy into your goals by motivating them. So how do you do that? Well, it's one of the tools in my toolbox. It's called the big picture. And it was taught to me many decades ago by probably the best salesperson I've ever met in my entire life. And he said, when people believe in something bigger than themselves, they change their behavior because they believe in that goal. So you have to have a big picture goal. to get people sort of focused on something other than all of this outside stress and uncertainty. So it could be, they're going to be number one. You're going to be the fastest growing. You're going to double in size in 2022. We're working with a client right now that's their goal. They want to double in size. Well, you need to put that goal in front of them. It could be to win the Stevie Awards, to win a JD Powers Awards. It could be to be the 90% club inside of your organization that the average is always 90%. It could be to have the biggest launch of a new product in your history. It doesn't matter what it is. You just got to believe it and you've got to want it as a leader. And then you take that big picture phrase, we're going to the top, we're going to be number one, we're going to win the award, we're going to double in size. And now what you do is you weave that through everything you do. Videos. I start every video, and I do these for our clients to show them how. Every video starts with the big picture statement. You know, we're going to double in size in 2022. I'm excited to be here. Let me tell you what's going on. And so now it gives that video meaning, even if you're changing schedules, even if you've got a new QA scorecard, but you start with the big picture statement. You weave it throughout your video and you end with that. You do it in your emails. You do it in your chats. You do it on the phone. The phone is extremely important in work at home and hybrid. Calling your folks. And yes, you can do video conferencing as well. But when I'm in the kitchen cooking at night, I'm on the phone to some of my people. And I've been doing this for years. We throw on a headset, they're cooking dinner, I'm cooking dinner, and we're talking. They can hear the emotions in my voice. And I use lots and lots of big picture statements. So I did this in an organization, a technical support organization, and this is in my book as well. And I worked for a multi-billion-dollar company. And the chief operating officer contacted me. He had nothing to do with contact centers, obviously. And he just wanted to know what was going on, and he wanted to hear it from me. And so I told him, and he said, well, you know, because we're going to the top. Even he believed it, and he wasn't anywhere near the contact center. Big picture statements are critical. It'll give people to believe in something that's bigger than themselves and get their mind off of all of the things that are pressing in their family, in their community, and in their world. That's tool number one, getting them to motivate to buy into your goals, the big picture. Tool number two, what's in it for them? I call this the dangle the carrot tool. It's understanding what motivates them and capitalizing on it. So if you're going to grow, if you're going to win an award, you're going to get more business, right? More customers will be calling in for selling. You're going to sell them a product or service, or they have to be serviced. And so what happens is you've got to keep that goal in front of them. Now, this is where the creativity inside of leadership really is going to be in high demand in 2022. It's literally about changing the way that you lead and the way your organization is structured. And there's so many different creative ways that you can do this. And we help with companies with this. But the first thing you do is you want to put that carrot in front of them once you find out. So for an agent, it could be, I want to be promoted to a supervisor. I want to go to the QA department. I'd love to do graphics. Maybe they're an analytical person. They love numbers. Maybe they want to be a business analyst. Maybe they want to move into QA. Whatever they decide to do, then that's what you keep in front of them. Now, you're going to say, well, Vicki, I can't take everybody that wants to be a QA analyst and put them into QA, or I can't move everybody into the training department. You don't have to. Get them off the phone or customer interactions for 2 or 3 hours a week. Now you'll say, well, gosh, that's going to bite into my utilization. Oh my gosh, that's going to cost labor dollars. Not if you reallocate labor dollars and be creative. What if you had 10 people doing that? That's 30 hours. And now you're going to say, well, gosh, Vicki, it's going to cost me more time to manage that. You're absolutely right, it is. But think about this. You're going to spend the time either way. On the front end, being proactive with new strategies and tools, or on the back end, doing damage control. And damage control always takes more time. Not only that, but change doesn't stick unless you've got this environment built where they're feeling comfortable and happy. So keep their goal in front of them and show them how to get there. And you weave that into every phone call. When I do town halls with groups, large groups of people, I always say, hey, I know some of you are going to want to be in QA, and some of you want to help us with graphics, so in the marketing department, and some of you want to go to the IT department. You know, we want to help you get there, but we need to be a top performing site. And they have their own goals, so they know how to do this. It makes them feel good. Now you take them feeling good about their own goals and about the big picture goals. And now you've got them smiling. Now that changes their mindset and that changes their action. When people are really fired up about something, they talk faster, they type faster. So guess what? Average handle time literally goes down. It's gone down in every single organization I've ever led, 100% of the time, because people are excited to go to work. They show up on time because they don't want to miss anything, and they don't attrit. And that's critical because right now we're seeing a bleeding of eroding bottom lines because so many people are leaving the company and it's taking more recruiters. I was out on LinkedIn this morning and more people are wanting to hire recruiters. Well, are we expanding our companies? Hopefully so. But a lot of it is because it's backfill because people have left. And we see this in huge numbers inside the contact center industry. So that's tool number 2. Keep that goal in front of them. I had an employee that was one of those employees you wish you had a million of. She was an amazing person, one of those pseudo leaders. People just sort of gravitated toward her. And she was always helping people, was super positive. She was a top performing agent. But she had one problem. And the one problem was that she was consistently late for work. And people were concerned, the leadership team and management teams were concerned because she was already in verbal warnings. They were already writing up. And we did not want to lose this person. She literally was like the charge of energy throughout our organization. People loved her. I even set up a time to talk with her and to no avail. She was all fired up when she was talking to me, but then the next day she was late for work. All these, the 3 verbal warnings, we were on getting ready. We were writing her up and we were really frustrated. And the agents around her coworkers were just as frustrated. And so one night I was sitting at home, I was sitting out on my deck and I just started thinking, what can we do? What would her own carrot be? She was so selfless. It was always about other people. I thought to myself, I have an idea. So the next day I went in and I talked with her. And I said to her, if you're on time for 30 days, I'll do a dance. I'll do a jig. Well, she thought that was like the funniest thing. Now, I never told anybody, but she knew subconsciously that people would motivate her. So she told her coworkers about me dancing. Well, what they started to do was they started to support her. What was her carrot? She didn't want to let them down. So she started coming to work on time. She was logging in. She was getting there. I mean, sometimes within seconds to spare, she was logging on, but she was getting to work. And her team was praising her. It was almost fascinating to watch this. And what happened? Well, at the end of 30 days, guess who was doing the dance and the jig? I was. And the whole organization wanted in on watching this. It was really interesting. A team leader position opened maybe 6 or 7 months later, and she applied, and obviously she got it. And then about a year later, we had a brand new division that we were launching, and we put a posting out there, and people were chatting in saying, you need to hire this person. She needs to be the new customer service manager. And we did. She turned her entire career around. But the carrot wasn't just for herself. What made her feel good was helping other people, and she didn't want to let them down. Find out what motivates your employees and capitalize on it. That's going to be great for this tool for you. Now, number 3, and this may be a hard one for some of you, and I don't know why leaders do this, but some of us do. Admit that your team may know more than you. Now we say that, and we say our front lines are important, and we say our supervisor is the most important role in the entire contact center. We all say it, but do we believe it? Do we feel it, believe it, and do our actions actually demonstrate that? So you have to look in the leadership mirror. It's another one of our tools. It's what are you doing to build success, or what are you doing to take responsibility for the failure in your organization? As leaders, we have to do that. So by admitting that they may know something more than we do, I'll tell you something, it's so much easier to be a leader. I never make a decision without getting input. And you just don't go to your direct reports. Go to the ground, go to the virtual floor. Ask your agents, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? You can do a video. You can have a discussion board. You can get in their chat rooms. You can call them on the telephone, pick 10 and call them. You can jump into a team meeting. Do something to get some feedback. It's critically important, but don't just stop there. The contact center is the hub of the wheel in a lot of companies, not just in BPOs, but internal brands as well. They're connected HR, finance, the warehouse, manufacturing. Everything touches the customer somewhat, and that ends up in the contact center. Invite those people, one frontline person from each of those departments, to be part of the brainstorming. Find out how it's going to affect all those different departments. And even if it doesn't affect them, they're going to know what's going on, and that's going to make them feel good. And also they're buying into the big picture, right? Because every department needs to buy into that big picture. And so everybody's driving toward that. Everyone's feeling good. Their mindset's better. They're pushing out all of that commotion that's going on at home and the stress and the uncertainty. And you're actually giving them a happy place to be where they feel like they're doing something right instead of all this uncertainty. And we're constantly questioning our decisions in the world that we live in today. Give your employees a break. Create that environment for them to feel safe, and you're going to reap huge rewards. Your sales volume will go up. Your CSATs will go up because they want them to go up, and they feed into tool number one and tool number number two that I gave you, the big picture, and keeping what motivates them personally out in front of them, the dangle the carrot tool. When you utilize this tool, great things happen. I was running a very large work at home organization, and we had to do a systems upgrade. So all the people are in their homes, and this particular system upgrade could be pushed to the computer, but then the agents had to do certain things in different stages. And of course, they had to be paid for it. And it took multiple hours to do the download, and different steps took different amount of time. So it was very complicated. So I sort of sat back and thought, oh my gosh, we've got people coming in every 15 minutes, shifts were starting. You got lunches, you got breaks, you got roundtables, right? You've got people helping with nesting that are floating in and out of the virtual floor. And it's like, how do we do this? So I talked with my team and I said, okay, we have to figure out how to do this. About that time, a high-level IT person contacted me and said, hey, Vic, we're doing this big systems upgrade. We want to allocate somebody from our PMO office. And I was like, time out. I don't want a project manager. And they said, this is the biggest project you've ever done and work at home for this company. We have to have a project manager. And I said, they don't have any contact center experience. They don't have any operations experience. They have no work at home experience. So we're going to spend more time teaching them how we operate and about our environment and the players on the floor. We're going to be wasting time. So I'd rather do it myself. So I put a core group of people together, and we had people from everywhere, from human resources and quality and training and nesting, the operations floor. We had IT people. We put a big group of people together, and we started working through this, and communication is key. But what happened when I went out and asked people how to do it, I just sort of stepped back. They even led the meetings, and I sat there in amazement that they were thinking of things that I never thought about. And I was very happy to give them credit in videos, which I do constantly. A great leader should do 3 to 5 videos a week inside their organization. And what happened? I'll tell you what happened. That IT person contacted me and said, and I was working for a multi-billion-dollar company at the time, that he had never seen a better systems integration or upgrade in his entire career, let alone in work at home. And we did it. And we did it because I went to the team and they laid everything out. I went to the team and said, what could possibly go wrong? We had to have a game plan for everything. Admit that your folks may know more than you do. Don't make business decisions in a vacuum or think you know more because you're the VP or the CEO or the director or even a supervisor. Get people's input, and get the input from people that surround your organization that may or may not be affected because they could have a different frame of reference when looking at the challenge. Tool number 3, it really, really works. So you want to admit that, and then you just feed those ideas back. People feel good that you're listening to them. They feel happier. Their brain is accepting of the change, and their actions are following all that. It's literally a chain reaction. We also teach communication feedback loops here, and those are critical to getting communication strategy out there. But it all goes back to the same thing. How people feel is what they think in their brain in that split second. They now have actions. Very few people think, gee, how am I going to do when I get this next customer on the phone? They're going through and barreling through their calls or their emails. They're trying to empty out their queue. They're trying to respond because we're measuring everything. Create that environment. Now, this will reap benefits for you. It will get a new leadership mindset and professional maturity level inside your organizations when you communicate with them, when they know what's going on, when you've asked them for their input, when you have fed back information to them, when you've let them design pilot programs, let them measure their own stats. I have a saying, and I've used this for years. If it's legal, moral, and ethical, if it won't cost you an employee, a customer, or a client, or a boatload of money, try it. You have absolutely nothing to lose. But what it will do is it will get people behind that pilot, get people behind that change. They're going to feel good, and their brain will make different decisions, and their actions will follow. It is a foolproof method, and it works, but it takes a strong leader. And honestly, it takes a hero. It really does. It takes a really different kind of leader to stand up in the midst of all this confusion when people are barreling down about best practices and average speed to answer and how many minutes on a coaching call and what are you supposed to say and all these things we just are swirling around our head. Which technology did you use? What's best practice for this? How do we get people to show up? All of these things, when if you build the environment, they're going to stay and they're going to do a great job for you. But it's going to take a hero. It's going to take a leader that'll step up and say, hey, time out, everybody. We need to do this different. We need to make this happen. And we need to listen to our people because you're going to spend the time either way, on the front end being proactive or on the back end doing damage control, with the fire extinguisher on your back. We've all been there. And if you're growing, you have problems too. Your employees are not immune to what's going on in the world. They're like everybody else's. So whether you're working and struggling, you're trying to meet payroll, or you're trying to grow and you can't, or you're growing and blowing the lid off the place, you're going to have all of these challenges. So create that environment for people so that they come to work and they're in a better place and you've given them a break from the world. So number one, create the big picture. Number two, keep their goal, their personal goal in front of them. Be creative on how you allocate your labor dollars. And number three, admit that your team may know more than you do. I'll tell you, when I do that, it's like a weight off my back. I don't have to make decisions without getting input and finding out what those obstacles are going to be before I make a business decision as an executive. I hope this has helped today. Be the hero in your organization. And if we can help, we're happy to. We have free resources on our website. We have a YouTube channel. If you go to our website, we have work at home leadership strategies, and it's broken down by category. They're 2 to 5 minute videos with strategies and tools. And we're constantly posting every day, 7 days a week on our Virtual Live Labs LinkedIn company page. So follow us there and you'll have the latest and greatest on what we're seeing. We will respond to changing market conditions. And we will be out with more information. So take advantage of our free resources. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're in charge of our own destiny. As leaders, we need to be the hero. Stop the madness and the craziness and get our employees into a happy place so that they can make different choices that will affect our top line revenue and our bottom line contribution. We can do this in 2022. And if we can help, let us know. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a great week, and I'll see you at the top.